It's been almost 5 months since I've been able to experience the world and its I was going to say sincerity, but it's scenery.
たく、どうしてこんなことになっちまったんだ。
You're stuck with us, sir. Hijikata-san kept himself a few paces ahead of me, deliberately, and his foul mood made me nervous. His cold demeanor caused me to question whether or not I'd belong there, if this was my place. It was difficult to turn these questions to and fro in my head, but I was trying to keep up with him. Someone called out as we passed a tea shop.
副長、こちらにいらっしゃいましたか。実はご報告しなければならないことがありまして。
If this person referred to Hijikata-san as commander, then he must be a Shinsengumi member. He whispered the report in Hijikata-san's ear. The man's words caused Hijikata-san's face to turn blank, and he looked to me to speak.
給与ができた。お前はこの店に残ってコードさんの聞き込みをしていろ。
But then I'd be by myself. Would that be alright with you? In response, Hijikata-san gave me an examining glance, as if to probe all of my hidden thoughts, then looked down at me while asking,
お前は逃げるために俺にくっついてきたのか。
When his eyes met mine, the pit of my stomach dropped, turning cold from nervousness. No, of course not.
ならつまらねえ質問するんじゃねえ。やることをやって待ってろ。いいな。
Understood. I wasn't sure what Hijikata-san's intentions were by leaving me behind, but it was probably smarter to do as Hijikata-san said, so I asked the person at the shop about my father. Oh, I know what this scene is. Okay, where to start? I asked customers that wandered in and out of the store politely, grabbing their attention. Unfortunately, it seemed like no one knew anything about my father's whereabouts. My tea became cold, the little leaf flakes sinking towards the bottom of the cup, and I sighed.
神妙にしろ。新選組の御用改めだ。ここの主人はどこにいる？
Oh, that means that Hijikata does rounds with Takeda. That makes sense because nobody fucking else is going to tolerate Takeda. I recognized the shouting man by his familiar corpse uniform as he barged into the shop. It was Takeda, the captain of the Shinsengumi's 5th Division. What could he be doing here?
私がこの店の主人ですが、本日は一体どのようなご用向きで？
The owner's voice was trembling from being intimidated, and Takeda responded forcefully.
分かりきったことを。何でもお前はこの店に尊上過激派の老子を出入りさせているらしいではないか。一体何を企んでいる？答えによっては屯所に連れ帰り、詳しく審議させてもらうぞ。
めっそうもない。そのようなものを出入りさせたことなどございません。
ほう。つまり我々新選組がデタラメを言っているとそう申すのだな。
いえ、そういうわけでは。
Sweat poured down the owner's face, and he shook with fear. Takeda glanced around the store with a sticky glare. I quickly ducked behind a shelf so he wouldn't notice me. I managed to avoid detection as he scanned the store. Then Takeda approached the owner again.
我々とて善良な民の商いの邪魔をしたいわけではない。お前の態度によってはタイへの報告を取りやめてやっても構わんのだが。
それはつまり。
お前の誠意を見せてみろと言っているのだ。
He's a bastard. As I peeked to get a closer view of their conversation, I could see the owner gulp. Although Takeda was not being explicit, it was deathly clear that he was soliciting a bribe from the shop owner.
そのようなことはできません。そもそも我々には何らやましいことなどありませんから。
なんだと？貴様、今日の治安を預かる新選組に盾つくつもりか？
いえ、決してそのようなことは。
屯所まで連行する。老子どもの手助けをしているに違いない。連れ帰って口を割らせてやる。
そんな。
Oh no! I was sick to my stomach hearing him. I'm always sick to my stomach hearing Takeda. Just when I was about to speak out, someone placed their hand on my shoulder. That's
ダメですよ。女の子が危ない真似をしちゃ大怪我するから。
There's a familiar face. This mysterious samurai whispered gently into my ear, but I became completely distracted by his perfectly sculpted facial features. His skin looked incredibly fair and soft, and he was almost as gorgeous as Hijikata-san. For a second, I thought he was an actor. He was dressed in expensive, exotic-looking fabrics, leading me to believe he was famous. No.
いいから。こういうことはお兄さんに任せておくものです。
The softness of his voice enveloped me in a great calm, and I sat back down to let him proceed. But I hope he'd be okay. Takeda was massive, and his short temper seemed like a recipe for disaster if anyone crossed him. I can't imagine dealing with such a violent soul.
すみません。ちょっといいですか？あなた、新選組の方ですね。
Takeda turned to face this man, staring in disbelief that someone would approach him in such a manner.
だとしたらどうだというのだ。
そちらの主人は尊上過激派を出入りさせてないと言っているようです。一体何の疑いでこの方を連れて行くつもりなんでしょうか？
なんだ、私の邪魔をするとは貴様、この店に出入りする不逞老師の一人か？
The mysterious samurai smiled coolly, and he responded calmly.
邪魔をしたら不逞老師とは取り調べも何もあったものじゃないですね。
我々のタイムを妨害しているのだから証拠としては十分だ。
わかりました。ここだと他の人たちに迷惑がかかりますから外に出ませんか？
不逞の輩がようやく己の立場が分かったようだな。
Takeda huffed smugly to himself and waddled out of the store to challenge the samurai. Takeda's smirk remained on his face as the two met each other outside of the store. He assumed an offensive stance and then reached for his katana to threaten him. Or not. As soon as Takeda moved his hand to unsheath, the samurai intercepted to cover the sword's mouth.
離せ、離さぬと。
まさか本気で刀を抜くつもりじゃないですよね。もし抜けば僕も見て見ぬふりができなくなってしまいます。そうならないようにしたいのですけど。
The samurai possessed a duality. One side was a soft-spoken gentleman, the other side a warrior. Takeda sensed this duality as well, because after the samurai made his claim, he made no movement. Before we knew it, people gathered around the store, murmuring amongst themselves and echoing the general sentiment of confusion and wonder. The Mibu wolves are having a duel? Are they causing trouble again? Such murmurs caught my ear as I looked ahead.
人が集まってきているようですよ。本当に抜くつもりですか？
The samurai seemed to already know the answer. Takeda began to grit his teeth angrily, and he gruffly shook off the samurai's hand.
貴様の顔忘れはせんぞ。覚えておけ。
His face was flushed with red, and he swiftly exited and disappeared from the store. As the tensions deflated, I exhaled in relief that things didn't come to violence. I'm glad that's over.
とんだ災難でしたね。さあ、中に戻りましょうか。
Were you okay? Are you okay? Were you okay or are you okay?
はい、あのくらい平気です。
I'm so glad. Why were you willing to risk your life against that man? You didn't have to stop me back there. The samurai slightly paused, then answered timidly.
あなたが知っていた顔によく似ていたからです。
I was perplexed. Me?
はい。やっぱり似ています。
He studied my face carefully, his eyes dotting up and down my small face. Although I liked the attention, I still had no clue who this person was or where he was from. I'm sorry. I think you've mistaken me for someone else. I bowed lightly to him, and he looked a little taken aback.
いいえ、いいですよ。ただの勘違いだったみたいですね。とりあえず中に入りましょう。せっかくのお茶やお菓子が台無しになってしまったし。
The samurai's kind demeanor was nearly impossible to resist, drawing me to return to the store as if I'd caught the scent of the city's sweetest bun. Upon entering, the tea shop owner smiled and brought us freshly brewed tea.
もしかしてわざわざ入れ直してくれたんですか？しかも羊羹まで。
Sitting beside our tea was a neatly arranged platter of sweet bean jelly. Man, I should have bought some the other day. Fa.
はい、ありがとうございました。本当に助かりました。
お礼を言われるほどのことじゃないですけど。でもありがとうございます。僕甘いもの大好きなんです。
それはよかった。存分に召し上がってください。それではごゆっくり。
The owner seemed to bow after every sentence and then returned to tend to his counter.
得しちゃいましたね。羊羹よかったら半分どうぞ。
Oh, no. I think the owner means for you to eat all of this.
そうですね。では僕がいただいてしまいますね。
He cut the sweet bean jelly into elegantly sliced halves, and he expressed delight after each bite. In my experience so far, Samurai didn't ever seem to smile often, but every time he took a bite, he grinned like a child, smiling as if he was the happiest person alive. It wouldn't be too much of a stretch, maybe, to guess that he and I were close in age. As this thought came to mind, I could still hear customers murmuring, whispering amongst themselves and to each other.
あのお侍さんが身風呂を追い払ってくれたんだって。
そうらしいわ。武士の中にも意外といい人がいるものなのね。
しかし役者みたいな美なんだな。その上腕も立つなんて。
The samurai seemed to overhear the discussion, timidly retreating from his initial enthusiasm. As soon as he finished drinking his tea,
すみません。僕の分のお勘定はここに置いておきます。
he rushed to get up, but not before slipping me some last words.
それでは僕はここで失礼します。もう無茶なことはしないようにしてくださいね。
The samurai fled the store, almost like a dream whispering around one's mind after awaking. He almost gave me no opportunity to thank him properly for earlier. I rushed after the samurai. Wait! I chased after him, yelling to catch his attention.
どうかしましたか？
Thank you so much for earlier. You saved me.
別にお礼を言われるほどのことはしていませんよ。
He turned away from me, stopping to gaze at the clouds swirling above us.
でも新選組は随分評判が悪いみたいですね。さっきのようなことをしてたら仕方がないのかもしれないけど。
Well, what should I say? We are explaining the situation. It's not as if I know the men of the Shinsengumi better than anyone else. I don't think all of the Shinsengumi men would ever behave like that. I need to read. I don't think all of the Shinsengumi men would ever behave like that other man did. He was just plain cruel. I'm sure you understand better than anyone, but out of all of the warriors in the city, there are bound to be the rotten eggs in the bunch.
知ってます。僕もあの人が新選組を代表してるとは思ってないですから。
There was a pause in our conversation, and the wind whistled softly in the background. The samurai didn't break his concentration, staring intently into my face. His eyes seemed to be searching for something, perhaps a faint glimmer of a long-lost memory. If only he could tell me what seemed to be on the tip of his tongue, but he shut his eyes and turned.
それでは僕はそろそろ行きますね。
Sorry for stopping you.
気にしないでください。会えて嬉しかったよ。
Huh? How did he know my name? Who was this man? The samurai turned his back to me and departed. He wasn't familiar to me. Was I to him? I didn't have much time to consider what any of this meant because Hijikata-san returned shortly after.
少し待たせちまったな。どうだ、コードさんの情報は何かあったか？
Hijikata-san. I quietly shook my head in response.
そうか。まあ、そう簡単に足取りがつかめるわけはねえ。気にするな。
As we walked back towards the headquarters, I filled Hijikata-san in on the earlier proceedings.
武田がそんな真似を？
Again, he is the only man that could tolerate Takeda. But his actions, Somehow he was able to contain a palpable rage without lashing out at me.
今日見たことは誰にも話すな。 お前の面倒を見ている幹部大使たちにもだ。いいな。
His voice was stern, and I quietly nodded.
言わなくても分かってるとは思うが、事情を知らねえ大使には決して気を許すんじゃねえぞ。新選組も一枚岩じゃねえ。特に武田の野郎はお前の事情を知らされていねえからな。
I understand. Once Hijikata-san was convinced of my understanding, he probed more questions.
で、お前を助けてくれたその侍っつうのはどこの誰だったんだ？
Oh, I forgot to ask his name.
それじゃ礼のしようもねえじゃねえか。
Well, shit, I probably should not tell him that he knows my name. I don't know, it all happened so fast.
まあいい。どこかで見かけたら今度こそ名前を聞いておけ。
He curtly muttered, and left me with his last thought.
親父さんのことは残念だったな。斎藤か新八たちが何か手がかりをつかんでくれてるといいんだが。
Hopefully. Yes, I'd forgotten that I accomplished nothing I wanted to today. Rush back to the base. Once back at headquarters, we discovered the sightings of my father I almost said Takeda! Terada Inn was false, crushing the sliver of happiness I held on to. Any water.